Hey, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing? Another great opportunity to trade some Forex, eh, baby? Aye. How's the sound? Today is a Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday, the 18th of April, 2017. Another good opportunity to get up with the sun rising, make some money. Markets are always moving, right? Money never sleeps. Oh, I wish you could see this, bud. You can't go through a day without quoting the movie Wall Street. Now, let me remind you that trading's risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. My name is Wayne McDonell. I am the Chief FX Market Strategist for TradersWay.com. Thank you for being a client of TradersWay. I hope you're enjoying our excellent customer service. Lightning quick execution and more than competitive spreads. You can have an ECN account, you could have a variable spread account, you could have a fixed spread account, whatever you want, depending on the new trading. Do these sessions here at Forex.Today, Monday through Friday, 7:30 in the morning. First Friday of the month, however, I'm at fxstreet.com where I do trade non-farm payrolls live. So there are plenty of opportunities for you and I to get together and hone your trading skills. What I need to do, I think I forgot to launch the camera. Hopefully that doesn't cause a problem. Share your screen. So you may have noticed the market moved, and that has to do with Prime Minister May. She's called a snap election. Like the crack whip, I attack. Yeah, snap election. I think it's June, huh? June 8th. And yeah, well, that's news. Market moved. Trade it if you got it. If you were long pound or euro, you're enjoying that right now. If you were short US dollar, you're enjoying that now. That's the nature of the beast of trading, unless you knew that was going to happen. And it also should remind you, whether you're in the market or not, whether you're making money or not, you should also be reminded that this is exactly why we use stop losses. Peter says, do you believe that's the reason the Euro Aussie moved? You have a better one? Yeah. Do you have any other reason why it would be different? Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, you tell me, right? One of the major economies of the world can potentially either replace their government, which is uncertainty, or gain additional power, which brings additional certainty. So, yeah, you tell me, right? Was it Australia? Was it gold? Is it a coincidence that pound dollar jumped even further? I mean, yeah. So, anyways, let's cut to the chase. Right. So yeah, it moved European markets. Like for example, oh, by the way, how are the charts? Can you see the charts? Instead of USD Noki, I guess we'll change this. What should I do? Yeah, why not? You can watch Swiss franc as well. You know what? Let me get off USD Swissy. So right now, this is suggesting Swiss franc uh, is how do you say more valuable or more attractive than the US dollar. But why don't we contrast that now to the pig, Great British Pound, Great Big Pig. There we go. So even more dramatic move. So pound is stronger than dollar, or pound is stronger than Swissy, Swissy stronger than dollar. So that should help you, for example, put together various trade plans. Swissy stronger than dollar, pound is stronger than Swissy, pound dollar should be up even more, okay, so on and so forth. Relative strength exercise. You notice it gets a little tricky around these pivots, huh? Life is great, life is great, life is good, life is beautiful. Okay. So even though the market freaked out, beautiful entry, huh? Just beautiful, huh? Right in the cluster of pivots. Well, welcome to the cluster of pivots. Bidip, bidip, bid. You know, if I was president of the United States, I would outlaw pink suits. Say, come on, girls. Really? Peter can keep his, though. All right, so following some moving averages here on the Aussie. Trying to get rid of that. Interesting stuff, huh? Down, 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 down. Just depends if you're in the business of finding support or finding resistance, right? That's all it is. What's your business? If you don't know what your business is, if you don't know what team you're on, you're going to have a lot of trouble trading. Okay. So you can see if you're a bull, you'd be buying. If you're a bear, they're selling. Didn't we talk about this yesterday, maybe on a different currency pair? If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be trading somewhere in the middle, and you're going to pay the penalty, right? I think it had to do with pivots or fibs or some conversation we had yesterday. Do you mean change of trend or commitment of traders? I've been talking a little with others. Oh no, Peter. And some have a tough time getting around the idea of picking a side, bull or bear. All right, good. These are the traders that are going to pay you money, right? So that's good, Peter. These are the people that are going to put your kids through college, put braces on your daughter. Okay, so, and the second thing is you can't decide using fundamental or technical analysis. Okay, well, that's the first one, Peter. How about global macroeconomics and central banking policy? Right, that would be one, right? Like there's a fundamentals course at FX Boot Camp. That's right. So if you don't know how to do that, that's one place to start. But just like, what is your opinion for the British economy over the next 5 years? And if your answer is I don't know, then therein lies the issue. Okay. Now the second way of doing it is looking at maybe longer term charts. Okay. Because technical analysis will lead you to only a few different scenarios, right? So if you're a bull, you have to buy its support, right? So you'd be measuring the market like this. There's no other way to do it if you're a bull. And if you're a bear, you're simply measuring it the other way. Okay. Both are correct. Okay. So you can see the top here is a 50% retracement. Okay, but that was the beginning of the year. Okay. Okay. So this is Aussie yen. So you're either a bull or a bear technically, right? If you're a bull technically, well, there's support. Look, I went back to this previous support. It might be support now. 82 could be an entry for you. And the next level of support here is around 80. I have 79.90, but let's just call it 80. Right? So that's just technical analysis, right, Peter? So you either buy it here or you don't buy it here, or you buy it here or you don't buy it here. Now that doesn't mean you sell it if you don't buy it here. You just simply don't trade it. Okay? Yeah. But way more important than all of this is fundamental analysis. All right, your technical analysis is only used to confirm that market conditions agree with said fundamentals. Okay? But consider doing the fundamentals course. Just do, right? Stuff like that, macroeconomics. So for example, what is the central banking policy of Australia right now? By the way, don't tell these people that you talk to, don't tell them because you're gonna run them over like a freight train. Loaded with pips. Load electric train. Good. Peter's like, honestly, not sure about the Aussies. Great. Now you know what you need to do. If you want to trade the Aussie dollar, you need to know. And this does remind me, like, I don't know, I can remember the conversation. I'm in New York City like 8 years ago. I'm speaking on TV or something. I can't remember, but I remember the guy. I remember who he is and all that kind of stuff. I remember the conversation, and he's like, "Man, Wayne, you got to help me. I'm going through this period. Things are tough." And he's like, I traded the Aussie yesterday and I lost money again, and I'm just struggling with it. Can you help me? And I said, "Yeah, okay, great. Why'd you buy it?" He's like, "What?" Yeah. So, what's your bias on Aussie dollar? Why do you think it'll appreciate in value? He's like, the MACD told me. My favorite answer, right? Yeah, well, there you go, right? RBA medium, it's a great opportunity to enrich your fundamentals, right? So, anyways, I said, well, imagine this, because now you're a foreign exchange trader and you invested into the Australian economy, right? I said, imagine you're like me, where all of a sudden you have to fly into New York City and you have to sit in front of a camera and at a TV station, you, which is really it's a creepy thing, right? Going through security and going up to the place, and then you got to be taken to the green room, and then you got to go do makeup, and then you got to go back to the green room, and then a producer comes in, 6 minutes, Mr. McDonell, 3 minutes, Mr. McDonell. Like, dude, the whole thing's to freak you out, right? And then all of a sudden, lights, camera, action. So, Wayne, what's your opinion on the Aussie dollar? And I said, well, imagine that's you. Lights, camera, action. Boom. Say something intelligent. And if you can't do that, right? If you can't convince your dog to buy the Aussie dollar, then maybe you shouldn't be buying the Aussie dollar because you have no idea what you're doing. And he says, yeah, I can't tell you anything about the Aussie. It's just kind of like you did. So I said, well, here's what you might want to do for the next week. Sit down and watch like Bloomberg or CNBC, whatever. Sit there, just watch it for hours, like a full time job. This is your full time gig. Sit there for 8 hours a day for a whole week. Take notes. Watch everything. They're going to talk about everything: bonds, stock market, currencies, earnings reports, central banking stuff. Just write it all down. Write down the things that you think are interesting. Write down the things that you believe are a trend right now that you keep seeing. The 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 news organization keeps bringing in people to talk about a certain topic. Well, what is that topic? Why is that important? You know, and then start writing things that you don't know, like you don't know what it means, right? How about the geo bonds of Puerto Rico that are trying to avoid default, going through negotiations with the hedge funds and stuff? Like, what is that all about? Yeah, yield curve and stuff. Yeah, yeah. And just sit there, just take notes, identify all these types of things, and do it for an entire week, and then see if it whets your appetite to do some research somewhere. But it's a way to kind of plug into the industry where amateurs don't seem to really be part of the industry. They're on the fringe, right? They got themselves a chart, they got themselves $1,000 account, and now they're going to take over the world. It's kind of silly to think about it, isn't it? So, you know, I would kind of start there and plug yourself into what's going on and what are the concerns of the professionals, and just even little things like language to get the words right to describe your industry, right? So if you're going to be a professional one day, you know, just kind of plug in and then realize these markets move based on news, and news isn't economic reports per se, unless it comes out unexpected, which would be news. But it really comes down to global macroeconomics. How is the global economy doing? Where is money coming from? Where is money going to? And if you can figure all that out with reasonable accuracy, you'll know which currencies should be appreciating and which ones should not be appreciating as much, which currencies might be neutral, which currencies could be losing valuation. And there you got yourself a scenario where you're a currency trader. Okay? Interesting, right? And then, you could ask yourself, well, what would you say about Australia? And if you don't have an intelligent answer, like why? Where can you get that intelligence from? Wouldn't it be great if you had an answer, right? What would you do if you were going to meet with an investor, let's say in the next 2 weeks? What would you prepare, right? If you don't have an opinion on Aussies, on the Australian dollar, do you have an opinion about any currency? So, like one thing that I would do if I were you is I would say, all right, um, on May 5th, you're going to meet with 3 billionaires. And you're going to talk about the foreign exchange market and perhaps other things that they ask questions about. What are you going to do to prepare? What would you say? What is your agenda? What would you like to pitch? What's your pitchable idea? So if I do this big event at the end of the year in South Africa, where I teach you how to raise money, one of the things we'll work on is your sellable idea. What is your sellable idea? What is it that you intend on doing? What's your hook to get someone to invest, right? So kind of do that. You have 2 weeks to prepare. And by the way, I might actually be doing a meeting like that on that particular day. Wow, 3 billionaires? I better say something intelligent, right? Or if you're going to go on CNBC or if you're going to go on Bloomberg, hope you don't look stupid, right? So, yeah, get in the game, plug in. Right? So here's a beautiful chart, I think. Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did have it down and up, like a fib. Looks like I wanted to come down a little bit more. Okay. It's quite beautiful. So, what would you recognize as a marker for change of trend? How do you draw these things? Like, you see how I have a channel. Do you pay attention to breaks of channels, for example? Is that technically important? Or swing, right? All the swing traders will recognize that that's a buy. You notice it's not just like a buy zone, it's like at the exact moment you're sitting there waiting to buy it, and you're like, oh my God, did that just open at a weekly M2? Oh, what? Oh, snap, right? You're like, it can't be, it's too easy. And then, of course, rally up. Look at that, hit the target. And then it stopped going up. Beauty. We trade. Now, who has the weekly pivots that look like this, but also have a predictive weekly central? Yeah, Artem does. Yeah, because that would be helpful in a scenario like this, where you're looking at Friday, you've already hit the weekly target. You should be eyeballing next week's central, right? So I don't think this one has, is it? La 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 la. Nope. Look at me, I have a yellow coat. Like the crack of a whip, I attack. Anyways, so here we go. Opens up very bullish, very difficult to buy it this week. And very quickly, so here we are Tuesday, slamming into the weekly top, and then there's a resistance just above it. Now here's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous scenario because this is based on unexpected news. This is pound dollar. This is the resistance that we're actually talking about. That little gray area here. I'll drag it out a little bit. And it's dangerous because in a normal situation, and this may not be a normal situation, but if it heads up here, this is a hardcore sell zone. Another way of thinking about it, it's where whoever was bullish will take profit. And so this news might just be sort of an overreaction. And then what you could do is sell up here and say, well, June 8th is a long ways away. You understand? And that these guys, whoever just bought the pound, overzealous or whatever, overreactionary. A snap election, a snap election, right? Like, where were you last week when it went, right? So right now, so whoever did what they were supposed to last week is getting paid right now. And that's, like I said before, that happens when you're in the proper trend. Oh man, don't you just hate waking up tired? So pay attention to that. Same thing here. It's not even Euro news directly, but we got a rally out of the Euro. We're sort of at resistance now. Do you want it to spike up and maybe sell it at the weekly M4? I see a pivot on here. Let's get rid of the pivot. Oh, maybe not. Hang on. Oh, it's this. Yeah. Okay. Like that crack of a whip. Look at the 786. That's just gorgeous. Gorgeous. Mix another top. Yeah, so it doesn't say sell here unless you're really a bear. So what I was originally thinking is this is a sell zone, but it's really more of a take profit zone. Notice it's the same price as last week. But longer term, it should still be going up into here. Oh, no problem. Peter, what currency are you talking about? It might have been an older comment. Okay, so you said if you were long from the weekly central, would you take profit right now with hitting this? Okay, if I'm long, you're saying there's a monthly in here, so I have to add a monthly. Jeez. Webinar slows everything down. Custom. Okay. Mid true weekly false. Okay. So your question, you bought it at the weekly central and you want to get out at the monthly. Well, you either don't know how to swing trade or you're confused on your bias or both. So I don't uh, wow. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I don't get yeah. Well, it's such a confusing thing. For you to get out at the monthly central tells me you're a bear, but if you're long at the weekly central, then you're a bull. So it's a very confusing statement. So I'll go back. Um, you know, again, you might be a prime candidate for the swing trading course. Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't understand why this weekly or the monthly central would be a take profit zone for you. Uh, why would you, yeah, it's confusing. If if you were going to get out, it would be because you're at resistance, either price action here or weekly market resistance, right? But the week, the monthly central would not be. Yeah. So you assume pure bullish bias. What would a bull do? Well, you bought it at the weekly central, right? So a higher high doesn't necessarily say get out. So that's the interesting thing. You're at resistance, maybe you take some profit because of that. And a little bit above that, around 107, is some more resistance, which would also be an opportunity to take profit. But you wouldn't get out at a monthly central if you were a bull because you thought, right? So it's because look, if you're a bull, you think it's going up here, right? I mean, what's your monthly plan? Do you have a monthly plan? Because I could tell you with certainty, someone trading this on a monthly plan is doing this, right? So that's why I'm like, well, if you have a monthly swing plan as a bull, you know that that's the move. So why would you get out of the monthly central? Does that make sense? Okay. So that's I mean that's again that's a factual swing trade plan, right? So that's it's just a fact. That's what these guys are doing here. So if you bought here, it might just be your weekly trade plan now, weekly. And yeah, okay, maybe because of this resistance, but it's supposed to go a little higher. But you shouldn't be negatively influenced. by the monthly central in that scenario. There's other things that might influence you, but it shouldn't necessarily be the monthly central. But if you bought it here, you're still a bull, right? So you're not that concerned about that. As a weekly, what you're hoping for is you get to the R2. That's your best case scenario this week, and that it retraces back to maybe where we are now. We follow that up to something like this next week, and we end the month maybe up here around 108, 109. Okay, that's what a bull would be thinking. So that's why I'm like, uh, yeah, I don't know. No, it's not that you're making me think a little more. It's very confusing. Did, did was it you? Was it might have been you yesterday. Didn't I say to somebody yesterday that like you're speaking Spanglish to me, and I don't really fully understand what you're talking about? Some of it's in English, some of it's in Spanish. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Right. So yeah. So I have a feeling you talk to a lot of very confused traders because you've mentioned a few times like, hey, I was talking to these guys and they're mixing their fibs and their pivots and I'm like, wow, that's really confusing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So you're like your weekly and your monthly trade plans seem to be either different or opposite or confused and so I peel things apart, right? So I say, look, this is the long trade plan for bulls. It's just that's to me that's it's on the chart. That's what's going on if you're a bull. And if it drops below that, then there are no more bulls, right? So anyway, so that is the monthly trade plan for bulls. Right. And if you're a swing trader, you knew that at the beginning of the month, which was, what, 3 weeks ago. So we knew sort of down here, I guess, right? So anyway, so anyone buying it that's going to hold it, for a few weeks, that's your target. Your conservative target is here. Your aggressive target, you're basically taking up to 110. So if you had that in mind already, because you've done analysis of the longer term charts, then you're going to try to tiptoe your way up, like walking up the stairs on a smaller time frame. In this case, just weeklies into your monthlies. Because if we're going up here, then then this has to be a bottom. Because if it makes a lower low, then this trade plan has failed, and you no longer even think about it. It's just dead. It died, right? So if this is alive, which it is, because it bounced it exactly where it's supposed to, then this should be the buy zone this week, right? Because again, if basic swing trading strategy is if you're a monthly bull, this is your buy zone. Nothing higher, nothing lower. It's quite literally that's the exact price. On the first day of the month, you would have said, "Oh, 105.35." Just so happens that's the bottom of the month. Just like, wow, miraculous that that's exactly our bottom, which would have been predictable 3 weeks ago. So now, if that is the bottom, then this needs to have a higher low. And that needs to be somewhere between 105.90 and 106.22. And guess what? That's exactly what it is. So we must be heading up to this weekly target. So let's say with this news, we get a little bit higher. And then next week, we'll be buying a dip similar to this week, similar to that week. And eventually, we should be working our way up here, which was the plan last week, if you're a bull, which is also the plan for the month, if you're a bull, right? So the monthly central, it hopefully is a buy zone next week, right? Because if you're a bull, it's the M2 and the weekly central that are support, not resistance. Okay. So like I said yesterday, Peter, where you're confusing um, pivot points and Fibonacci, you need to separate them and focus on one or the other. It's the same thing here where you're confusing weekly swing trades with monthly swing trades, and they're making it all gobbledygook for you. So you should separate them. I look at them as two different facts. They're both there. It's both factual. And then if I've decided that I'm a bull, for example, I don't think like a bear. Now, I think where a bear would act, but I believe that they would fail. Now, if it did drop off of that, then you would have to say the risk of your bullish trend failing has increased and that you need to pay attention. Okay? Now, the cool thing is, like, especially for those that did take the swing trading course, if they happen to be a bull or happen to be there that at that moment, which I trained them to do, that was a buy opportunity last week, Sunday afternoon, Monday morning. Just that's it. That's the monthly plan. They're most likely still in that trade, and they plan on being in it till it fails, right? And that's the whole idea of swinging, right? There's almost no trade management in the sense that you enter, you put a stop. Great. For a monthly trade, maybe in a week or two, you move your stop closer, maybe all the way to break even. And a week or two after that, you've hit your profit target or you've got knocked out. Like, that's it. That's the beautiful part of it. If you have like a JOB, it takes a whopping maybe an hour a week and another half an hour per month. I mean, it might even be less than that. A half an hour a week, half an hour per month. Okay. So, anyways, so for example, what is this? USD yen. On the first day of the month, which is way up here, the projected low for the month was 108. Oh, look, we're at 108. Okay. Now, that's if you believed it was coming down. Now, the other belief you might have had is that it would go up. In that case, you would have thought, well, way up here, 116, right? But we opened below the monthly central, which is bearish, very bearish. If you're a bull, you're hoping it would open up a little higher, like 110.50. It came down a little lower. I think the way that we had this trapped up is I was hoping we could keep it basically above 110, right? To me, that's the line in the sand. And I said, look, we could actually be at 110 all the way to September. Do you guys remember that? That if this held, we could possibly sit here all the way to September, meaning like it could go up and then it would come back down, and then it would go up and then it would come back down, and then go up and it would come back down, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Well, it's come down even further, and yeah, it's a little disconcerting. All right, so now we got to watch this area, right? The confluence of monthly and weekly. Okay, I'm not even sure you can hear me anymore. It said microphone found. Yeah, all right, cool. None of my charts are running or all that kind of stuff. I don't think even the cameras recognize. No. So anyways, yeah. So brand new Windows 10 PC, brand new Windows 10, and it has trouble with Flash. It can't run a webinar. Wow. What are you supposed to do? I mean, what's a guy supposed to do? So anyways, luckily it'll trade all day, but it's something all of a sudden I think what it does is just drains all the memory. There's 12 gigs of RAM, but all of a sudden something just comes in and sucks it dry. So I don't know what it is. So let me say goodbye. I apologize, but it'll take me 15 minutes to get everything back up and running. Uh, so peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you for your patience and your loyalty and your respect that you give me every day. Um, I look forward to our time together. Please be sure to open up an account at TradersWay.com and to post a trade plan at Forex.Today. Tomorrow. Thanks for being on my team.